Hello, this is Vexx, and welcome back to Tyranny. You may recall in our last video, we actually finished up with Lethian's Crossing. Well, I should say we finished exploring Lethian's Crossing for now, as we will be going back there later. And we also picked up Sirin while there. I mentioned that I'd be leveling her up off camera, and I actually decided that I'd go with the Peace Tree, for now anyway, which actually gives a lot of buffs to our characters. It gives defensive buffs to our team. So that's a good way of doing it. At least I think so. And I will also have her as a magic user with Landtree mostly. And of course us too, because we do some magic as well. As I also mentioned last time, I'm going to be spending this video and the next one talking to a few new characters. One of them being Sirin right here, and the other one is this one, Kills in Shadow. Now I'm going to go with Sirin first, simply because, well, I like her as a character better. I've never actually used Kills in Shadow in any of my personal playthroughs. Not sure if I mentioned that or not, but I have used Sirin, and I know that she's actually pretty decent. So let's start with getting to know the Archon of Song.
Good day, Fatebinder. It's always nice to see you.
I can't recall if I mentioned this or not. The reason I went through the conquest the way that I did is because, unfortunately, though the conquest is where you can get most of the loyalty points for Sirin, kind of feel like she was almost an afterthought or extremely late thought in as a party member, as there's not a lot of ways you can raise her loyalty or fear in the game outside of the conquest. Now we may have her at loyalty 1 now, but there is a few conversations here that will raise that up. Well, let's continue. As after she said that, she smiles and blushes at her words. She's a mid to late teenager, so maybe she's got a bit of a crush on us. Who knows?
What do you need?
Oh, Sirin loyalty 2. Okay, maybe we have her higher than 1. We can actually ask her right off the bat. You have a way with words, Sirin. Were you instructed on how to speak with others? Actually, I'm going to go with that right off the bat, because that is very interesting, point. Of course! One of the only good things that came out of my time with Kairos was my education. My teachers instructed I be trained on the proper way to speak with the royal court. I was frequently mistaken for someone older, so I think I got away with a lot more than I could have otherwise. For all their failings, they made sure I was properly educated. Oh, and she is very proud of that by this stance. My favorite class was learning how to talk people into doing what you wanted without using magic. Can you believe that? Why in the world would you risk it? But it was a fascinating subject. Ooh, we can ask her to teach us some tricks, or we can go, a class like that likely behooved your unique talents. If you could manipulate someone with just your words, imagine the power of your compulsion when you add your sigil to the suggestion. Ooh, I get the feeling that'll probably actually raise her loyalty. Yeah, we're at loyalty 2 with her. I'm going to try that. Well, it doesn't say. Do you think the class was created solely for my benefit? I mean, I wouldn't put past Kairos if it was. She leans close, and in the softest of caresses, her lips brush your ear. Want me to teach you a trick or two? But she's started, her voice a low and buzzing hum before you can form an answer. Words or sounds indiscriminate to the human ear, a language not meant to be understood by any but the Archon of Song beneath the breadth of discernment, but inescapably compelling, binding, but gut-wrenchingly powerful on a single lilt. Then euphoric feeling on a mere intone later. You blink and realize that the muzzy, spine-tickling murmuring in your ear has fallen silent. Sirin draws back with a satisfied sigh, beaming at you. And the perfect image of a sigil, invocation of her name binds itself into the depths of your mind. Okay, and we have actually learned the Sigil of Emotions. So she actually, right off, or right there anyway, taught us a new form of magic, which actually can manipulate others. It is actually very good for Barrack to use as one of the spells that actually has a low lore cost, basically makes everyone target you, which is perfect for us. But let's continue talking with Sirin, actually.
Good day, Fatebinder. It's always nice to see you.
Again, she smiles and blushes at her words.
What do you need?
Okay, now that option is no longer here. Obviously, it's a one-time thing, which makes sense. I mean, we already know the sigil. Okay, I would know more about you. What do you want to know? I got a whole bunch of choices here. Probably go down all of them. Let's start off by asking about her homeland. What is there to say? It's a fuzzy memory hardly worth recalling. I was born in a northern farming village without a name, and that's how out of the way we were. A bunch of families ended up settling near each other, and that was my village. It was about 20 miles from the Shadow's Rest, and you probably haven't heard of that either. We were farmers, poor and isolated. Nothing about my home or past is worth dwelling on, Fatebinder. I barely remember my father. My mother is dead. The only thing people ever wanted from me was my song. The girl is powerful. Bring the songbird. We need a blessing. Our crops are withering. Our crops are withering. What has that bitch done? Her voice falters with the last statement, and she shivers a little. Oh, I can't read, apparently, today. Alright, we can use our lore to say nothing in your past is worth dwelling on. It looks to me like you remember something. I'm gonna go with that one. I got some lore experience for that. I suppose when an angry mob that fears you and what you can do stones your mother to death while she shields you with her body, it kind of sticks with you. Ooh. Yeah, that would definitely stick with you, I'd think. I don't believe this was here earlier. We can actually ask her what she remembers about her family. Let's go there. The good thing about being taken from home when you're still a child is you can't miss the childhood you never got. What do you want to know? Well, let's start right from the top and work our way down. We can ask her, you were taken from your family? Technically, by the time I was taken, there was no family left to be taken from. But Kairos' forces have gotten word of my talents and decided I was better used taking over the world than helping local farmers. Well, based off of what we know of Kairos and his army, specifically the voices in Arat, yeah, that kind of makes sense. Now let's go on. You have no family left? What happened? What do you think? They're dead. My father might not have cared about us, but my mother would have never let anyone take me while she lived. Without anyone to protect me, I was whisked off into Kairos' court. Oh, we can actually ask her about her father now. How would you describe your father? Worthless? Hopeless? Devoid of human emotion? Sometimes I feel like we were complete opposites. He seemed incapable of feeling anything, and I seemed to be nothing but raw emotion. Narat let it slip that my father sold me to Kairos and was responsible for my mother's death. Someone had to egg the crowd on, and someone had to tell Kairos' men where I was. Not that it matters. He's dead, and I'm better off without him. Oh, her father sounds like a real gem, doesn't he? Let's see what she remembers about her mother, though. She's dead, so I don't have much to remember. She loved me, that much I know, but sometimes I wonder if what she felt was love or fear. Fear for me, or of me. And sometimes I don't think there was much difference between the two. Oh, that's a bit cynical, isn't it? My mother loved me when no one else did, and when no one else could. The world wanted nothing but my voice. All my mother wanted was my happiness. She was the only person in my life that did. Probably a touchy subject, but I'm going to ask her about her mother's death. No, Fatebinder, I can't. Please, don't make me talk about it. Her voice trembles and tears well up in her eyes. Oh, we got a couple of choices here. We can say, I'm sorry, Sirin, but I need you to tell me what happened. We can say, tell me what happened. I won't ask you again. Or we can be kind and say, okay, Sirin, I will never ask you to tell me that story. Or finally, then let's talk about something else. Well, I kind of want to get some more loyalty with her, so I'm going to go with the third option and say, okay, Sirin, I will never ask you to tell me that story. Hey, that did give us loyalty. Thank you. There are some things that are just too painful to remember. Oh, wow. That took us from 16% towards loyalty 3 to almost halfway to loyalty 4. Well, as I said, there isn't many ways to get her loyalty and fear up, but that was definitely one. Let's ask her about her father's death. He disappeared after my mother died, and I was kidnapped. I didn't hear anything about him for the longest time, so I assumed he had disappeared and I would never see him again. Then someone brought word that he'd been found. He killed himself, and now he's out of my life. We can use our subterfuge. For someone who always has a lot to say, that was incredibly succinct. Is there more? We'll gain subterfuge for that. You're relentless, Fatebinder. Do you ever think that maybe there are some things I want to keep to myself? But yes, you're right. There's more to the story. When I got word he'd been found, I had him summoned to Kairos' court. I wanted to see the man who had condemned me to the life I was leading. When he arrived, I went to see him privately. I wasn't sure what I would feel. Anger? Hatred? I didn't expect apathy. For the first time in my life, I felt nothing. Standing there, staring at the man who ruined my life, waiting for him to notice me, my heart was dull and disinterested. Then he looked up and smiled. He smiled when he saw me. Can you believe that? He smiled and opened his arms to hug me, and it felt like someone reached into my chest and squeezed my heart, sending hate flooding through my veins. So I sang him a song. I told him how tired he looked, how haggard he seemed. I spoke of the weariness he must feel, the guilt and that surely plagued him every day. I asked how he withstood the weight of his betrayal. The burden must be too much to bear. I watched the tears roll down his cheeks as he pulled the dagger from his belt, the sobs that tore from him as he held it before him, thinking about his wife and child. The look of ecstatic relief on his face as he dragged the blade across his neck. Ooh, that's rather gruesome. We can say, you made him kill himself? That's horrible. Or, he got what he deserved, Sirin. Again, this is probably another way to get fear or loyalty with Sirin. Again, I want to get as much loyalty as I can with her, because, well, she is another Archon, and, well, we already have a couple Archons that want us dead, so it's probably good to have at least one on our side. Well, I guess two. Blended Mark seems to be on our side, or at least he's indifferent. So I'm going to say he got what he deserved. Plus, well, if he did sell out his own daughter and wife, I'm sorry, he doesn't deserve to live. Yeah, that definitely gained us loyalty. Not as much as the first one, but a good 40%. That's what I tell myself, and for the most part I believe it. I cannot but wonder what terrible things he did in the 5 years after he vanished, and what I might have prevented if he'd only been around to hear me the morning my mother died. Now you know what happened to my father, as I told you before. He killed himself, and that's it. Well, she's not gonna open up about that any further. Kind of curious if she has any siblings, though. No, I was close to a boy in my village for a time, and his mother stopped letting me play with him when everyone realized what my powers were. That's the closest ever thing I had to a living sibling. A dour expression clouds her face. A living sibling? My brother died very young. I never knew him, so I hardly count him as a sibling. Life in the middle of nowhere is difficult for a single child to survive, let alone more. It is a testament to my parents, or to the parents. Oh, because we have at least loyalty 1. She looks at us for a time, and her lips a thin line. Her eyes grow red, and tears form in her lids. Finally, she nods slowly and breaks her silence. I remember talking about Me getting a little brother. It wasn't long after I started singing and my power started growing. She told me that soon it would be too hard for her to travel with me. Sirin, sweetie, she said, you'll have to go with your daddy. It wouldn't be good for the baby if I kept traveling like that. Maybe after your brother is out here with us, we can all travel together. Sirin looks out at the horizon, her voice breaking. We can say you didn't like traveling with your father, or go on. I'm kind of curious. Well, I'm guessing she really didn't like traveling with her father, as he did not sound like a good man, but I'm still going to ask her about it. No, all he wanted was the money. When we were on the road, he completely ignored me. I was simply something to earn rings with, a tool. The farmers in my village used their rakes and wagons. My father used my voice. Everyone wanted the songbird to sing for them, and they paid us so much money. So we went, but I didn't want to go without my mother. She was the only real comfort I had. When I was with her, I felt safe. Nothing could hurt me. There was a trip coming up, and I knew she wouldn't be going. I couldn't bear the thought of all those days in the care of my father. Her voice breaks again, and she closes her eyes. So I sang to my baby brother. I told him we were all waiting for him. I told him we needed to be a family so we could be together. I told him he should come out now. I don't know if I meant it for it to happen, but I sang the words. No one can resist my voice. My mother's screams cut the song short, and the blood, it was everywhere. I was dragged from the room, but I don't remember who took me. I only remember staring at my foot the rest of the afternoon. The pattern soaked into my shoe, splatter across the tops of my toes. I couldn't bring myself to clean it off. I just looked at it. We can ask her how long her mother had been pregnant, or we can just say, go on. But she definitely does not look happy with herself. I'm gonna see how long her mother was pregnant. Not long enough for my brother to survive. Maybe he could have. I don't know. The problem is, when I told him he had to come out, I didn't mean I wanted him out alive. I don't think he would have survived, even if it was time for my mother to give birth. People came and went all day. There was a lot of crying, and nobody looked at me the same way after. My mother told me that things like this happen all the time. But even at 5, I knew what I had done. And part of me was happy. I wanted my mother back, and I got her. She still loved me. She died protecting me. But I terrified her. Every time I opened my mouth, I could see her flinch. And after my brother died, she was never around when I sang. She couldn't bear to watch me. Oh, that's so sad. Kind of explains why she's the way she is. She definitely looks defeated in this picture. Well, let's ask her about something else. Maybe she'll cheer up. What do you want to know? Well, let's ask her how long she's been practicing magic. Always. I have no member of being without the power. It has been my driving force, and I am who I am because of it. Every defining moment of my life is because of my voice and the power behind it. I have become what it made me, and it is what I have done with it. That's all we can ask about magic. Maybe if we didn't click that first option when we did, we could go further and learn her sigil here, but, well, we already did that. Now let's ask her about her time with the voices. What do you want to know? Oh, that's very direct. Well, let's ask how she met the voices. I met it when I was unceremoniously dumped on its doorstep by Kairos. All I felt toward it since the moment I saw it was sheer hatred. When one person tires of me, they just hand me off to another. I seem to be quite the handful. No one is ever truly prepared to deal with me, I suppose. I was its possession for 3 years, stuck doing what it wanted until you came along and started messing around with Kairos' plan. Well, I'm glad we made her day by, choosing to go against both the voices and Graven Ask. Okay, let's ask her what she did. What did Kairos why did Kairos give you to the voices? I made the mistake of trying my song on Kairos, and forgiveness isn't exactly in the Overlord's vocabulary. Yeah, I'd say so. Interestingly enough, I think it almost worked. Can you imagine how differently things would have turned out if I had a little more practice? Wow, she's a lot more powerful than we thought. If her song almost worked on the Overlord themselves, herselves, itself, the Overlord selves. But yeah, wow. I was brought out at one of the many lavish gatherings thrown at the palace. Kairos loved showing me off, you know, impressing the gathered elite. So I performed, I sang, I danced, I convinced people to join in. Then, in the middle of it all, I had a brilliant idea to work one more performance into the show. Something that would be the ultimate end to the evening. Uh-oh. I added a counterpoint to my song and directed it at Kairos. In it, I mentioned that it might be in everyone's best interest if Kairos ended up impaled on a sword. Ooh. I honestly didn't think it would work, but why not try it, right? Well, she didn't seem like she was that happy to be in Kairos' service, but still, that's gutsy. Really gutsy. It went as far as Kairos unsheathing one of the Royal Guard's sword. But then everything stopped. I don't know why. It was probably me. I got too excited and lost my control. But whatever the reason, Kairos was suddenly out of my control and let out a terrible shout. You can ask her if wasn't she afraid of getting caught, or just say go on. At this point, I just kind of want to let her go on. Everyone stared, frozen by the yell, echoing back at us. Kairos quickly recovered and gave the appearance of cheering us on, but I was convinced I was about to die. Interestingly, my execution never came. I finally realized I couldn't have been punished at that party, because Kairos would have to admit I had exerted my will onto the Overlord, and without a good reason to call for my death, I couldn't have been executed afterwards. Well, yeah, if she was executed at the party, it would show that Kairos had a weakness, or even has one, which as far as we know, Kairos doesn't. And, well, as she said, without a good reason, she can't be killed. Based off of everything we know, she's quite valuable to the Overlord, and, well, to the army as a whole. I was the songbird. I did nothing but spread Kairos' will and gather the armies. Would you execute your best and most loved recruiting tool? As I just said, and she's looks kind of patronizing in this picture. So, Kairos worked with Narat, and they gave me this helmet to bring me back in line. Then I was handed over to Narat, the monster. To Narat, that monster, because it is the only thing in the world I cannot control. Present company excluded, Fatebinder. Oh, we can actually ask why can't she control the voices? As I'm sure you've noticed, every time it goes to say Narat, I go to call him the voices, as it seems to be a interchangeable phrase between either calling him Narat, the voices of Narat, or just the voices. So please bear with me on that. Let's ask why can't she control the voices? I've been inside its head time after time, and I've never been able to get a handle on what's going on in there. Every time I talk to it, I feel like a different person is talking to me. And every one of them wants something different, and one in particular wants something it's never, ever going to get. What? What? Okay, I have to go. Wait a minute. What does Narat want from you that he's never going to get? I get the feeling I know, but I'm going to ask. Come on, Fatebinder. You can't be that naive. I'm still a child, and I know about adult urgings, as one of my teachers so clumsily put it. Somewhere inside that chaotic mind, I saw the most depraved and disturbing desires I've had the misfortune of feeling. No matter what Narat says to you, do not trust it. That will always end badly. So basically, the voices wanted to have adult relations with the songbird. And as I said, she's a teenage girl, and the voices is, from what I've gathered, several hundred years old. To say the least, no. Let's just go with no. Well, let's ask her what's Narot's. How do you do for him? Now, if that isn't the question that goes right to the heart of the storm, I think you should ask me what he hasn't had me do, or at least tried to make me do. Okay. Again, I don't think I really want to know. But basically, she's been ordered to do a lot of not good things, and refused a few of them from the sounds of things. Anyway, let's talk about something else. Actually, the only thing that's left, at least right at this moment, is let's ask about the headdress. It's the bane of my existence, and something that's incredibly painful to talk about. So why not? She shrugs. Well, if it's painful, why would you want to talk about? Okay, whatever. Let's just go with it. So, what does it do? It makes me impotent. Do you have any idea what it's like to have a hurricane raging inside you, to feel the gale crushing against you, to be released but only feel a gentle summer breeze? Carlson Narat made it just for me. If I attempt anything more powerful than a simple tune, it will kill me. Isn't that simply wonderful? Honestly, to be so terrified of a mere child. Oh, so basically it's a power limiter for her, and she's almost embarrassed about it, it seems. Or maybe it's just the fact that the voices and Kairos seem to be almost terrified of her. Okay, let's ask. I think we kind of know, but let's ask, why do you have it? I might have tried to kill Kairos once. He and Narat decided I posed too much of a threat, so they muzzled me. I was their attack dog, and they pulled out my teeth. You can hardly be surprised if the dog tries to bite you if that's all you teach it to do. Yeah, we kind of know that. She already went over that what she tried to do with Kairos. Gutsy, as I said before. But anyway, let's ask why she can't simply take it off. Well, the fact that she asked us to do it says she can't, but let's find out why. Gee, Fatebinder, I never would have thought of that. Here, could you unclasp it for me so I can get out of it? Because I'll die if it isn't removed the proper way, you simpleton. Do you think I'd leave it on otherwise? Oh, we actually got a few extra choices for that. With that, I should say. We can say, if you can't take it off, then why did you try to get me to remove it when we met? Or how do you know you'll die if you remove the helmet? Or what would it take to remove it? I believe this last option here, why the headdress, why not use magic to gag you, was already here. Let's go with, if you can take it off, then why did you try to get me to remove it when we met? How can someone so powerful be so stupid? I knew you wouldn't be able to remove it. That's not what I was trying to do. You're a Fatebinder. You honestly think I was going to pass up the opportunity to try and control a Fatebinder? I guess I could see her point. After all, she tried to control Kairos. Okay, and, well, we know that she didn't control us. But let's ask her, how does she know she'll die if it's removed? Because I doubt Narat and Kairos would go through all the trouble just to play a trick on me. Something this subtle, elaborate, and long-lasting isn't really their style. At least not Narat's. Plus, Narat told me the helmet would kill me if I removed it, and, well, it might be a lying monster. It loves telling the truth if the truth causes an extra bit of pain. That kind of fits with Narat. But now we got this choice, this new option. You believe Narat? Maybe he's just toying with you. Have you tried removing it? I'm not going to risk my continued existence on a maybe. Plus, I already tried when they first put it on me. I got one of the worst headaches I've ever had, so I'll leave it where it is for now. Probably a good choice because, well, I really don't want her to die, and I get the feeling probably her head will explode or something. Well, that'd probably look kind of cool. Now let's ask, what would it take to remove it? Someone beating the information out of Narat or Kairos? They are the only ones who know how it was constructed and how it works. I may ask people to remove it, but I know they won't be able to. That's not going to stop me from trying, though. True. Makes sense. And it's probably a kind of a fun pastime. Now let's go with, why the headdress? Why not use magic to gag you? They tried magic. It didn't really work. The problem is, spells can be broken. Counter spells can be found. Guards can be bribed. People can have accidents. Narat and Kairos are the only ones who know how to remove this without killing me. The answer is locked somewhere in Narat's insane and Kairos' currently not conveniently located heads. Basically, no one knows where Kairos is, and, well, we already know that Narat's insane. Okay, looks like there's nothing more to talk about with Sirin. Let's talk, or at least getting to know her.
What do you need?
Oh yeah, we still got lots to talk about with Sirin. That was just option 1. Okay, do you know anything about what's going on in the tiers? I know a great deal about what's going on here, considering I am the root cause of at least half of it. What do you need to know? She's the cause of, like, half of it? Cool. Okay, let's ask how long she's been here. Since the beginning of the occupation, Kairos wanted me out of sight, but still in use, so I was given to Narat. It used me to gather fodder for the chorus. Yeah, we kind of know that part already. Okay, what do you think about Tunon? He makes me uncomfortable. There's nothing behind that mask. It's dark and empty. It is? What do you mean? Everyone has a presence. It's how my magic works. When I reach into them and convince their presence to do what I want. He has no presence. When I reached into him, there was nothing. It was bleak. I never want to feel that again. Yeah, I kind of don't blame her. Now we can then go on with, if you have to reach into someone's mind to control them, how did you influence entire armies to do what you want? It's actually a very good point. I can't influence an army, but I can persuade them to feel the way that I want them to. If I want to get someone to do a specific thing for me, I have to get inside their head, and that requires a lot more effort. No one can keep me out, but if they're aware of what I'm doing, I can't force them to do anything. At least, not with this thing on my head. She knocks her hand against her helmet. And we already went over that helmet. Really, I don't know how it works. It just does. You might as well ask me where lightning comes from. The clouds. So that's actually very interesting. If you know about her power, at least this is what it sounds like. If you know about her power and that she's trying to manipulate you, it won't work as long as she wears this helmet. That's very interesting. Let's ask her about Kairos. What do you want to know? Well, we kind of already know about how she came to work for Kairos, but let's see if she'll go into further detail here. After my father betrayed me and got my mother killed, I was taken by Kairos' men. I honestly don't know where we went, other than it seemed to take forever to get there. Then I was put in school. It was wonderful and horrible time. I learned how to control and maximize my power, but they underestimated my abilities, or overestimated them. I think it was more the latter than the former. Then they unleashed my true power. Did they believe I wouldn't try to run with it? They tried to train and mold me, and in that they succeeded. Wait, what? They tried to train and mold me, and in that they succeeded. Oh, I see. They also tried to brainwash and break me, and in that they failed spectacularly. But I was punished for it. Well, I kind of get the feeling we know the answer to the next two questions about why you were punished and how, but let's ask them anyway. Why are you punished? They assumed my abilities were exaggerated. They were powerful mages who had spent years training in their art. How could a little girl ever hope to rival their prowess? I grew tired of their condescension. I hated them for treating me like a child. their rules, their discipline, their training. They had killed my mother, and I would make them pay for it. One day, I got bored in class. The teacher's droning voice was putting me to sleep in the afternoon heat, so I thought I'd have a little fun. He was distracted, and he let his defenses down. He didn't consider me a threat. Ooh, how did you know his defenses were down? I can just feel it. If someone is alert or aware of what's going on, it's a lot harder to get inside. But I know when they're vulnerable. I know how to take advantage of the opening and climb right in. Oh, that sounds like a... I'm not going to go there. Well, go on. I started humming, nothing that would attract his attention, of course, a lullaby my mother sang to me. Fitting, I thought, to invade this man's mind with a song taught to me by the woman they destroyed. I could tell I had gotten inside him when he slowed down, ever so slightly. I started singing wordlessly, standing, working in hand motions. They were completely unnecessary, but I had been trained to be a performer. Then I worked in my words. The window, I sang to him. Look, what's at the window? He turned, entranced, and stared outside, his mouth moving silently as he dreamed an answer to my question. What's out there? I asked him through my song. What could it be? I was elated. The fool had left himself alone and vulnerable with this 8-year-old and dominated his mind. This 8-year-old had dominated his mind. He walked to the window intently, staring at something I couldn't see. You made him jump, didn't you? Of course! I didn't mean for him to fall. He was looking out the window and reached up as if to touch whatever he was looking at before I could stop him. He was gone. It looked like he was trying to catch something as he fell from sight. I won't say I'm sorry he died. He was a horrible man, but I didn't mean to do it. However, I was elated. The taste of power was intoxicating. I didn't get to taste it again for a long time. Kinda curious how she was punished for this. They wanted to cut out my tongue, even at 8. I didn't blame them. It's what I would have done, but Kara said no, doing possibly the one kind act she ever did for me. Without the power of speech, I was essentially useless. So they muzzled me. They knew simply holding my mouth shut wasn't going to be sufficient. So they got creative. Using sage magic, they put my voice in stasis when I wasn't in class. I could go through the motions of speech, but nothing came out. Oh, did they take pleasure in it. Between classes, they gave me chores, they berated me, they beat me. I was their slave. The only reason I lived was by Karas's whim, but I was tortured by everyone else's. There were at least 2 teachers in my class after that incident, and I was always accompanied by 2 guards, both of whom had been deafened, so I couldn't affect them. Oh, I accidentally killed one man, and they were acting like I destroyed the realm. So they even deafened a couple of guards just to keep her grips off them. Ooh, Kairos certainly is thorough. We'll go with that. I suppose that's what they thought I'd do next. And who knows? Maybe that's what I'm about to do. Okay, let's ask her what life was like with Kairos. For several years, I was surrounded by people who would smile to my face and sneer when I turned away. They were supposed to be my mentors, my teachers, but all they did was resent me. They taught me to refine and control my voice. My power became more directed, more powerful, more subtle. I no longer needed to specifically say what I wanted people to do. I could just think what I wanted, how I felt, and the weaker the mind, the faster they would respond. It still required me to sing, or at the very least make music with my voice, but I could say one thing but mean something else entirely, and the magic worked. Everything was done for Kairos' edification. They asked me to sing songs of her power, and I was used to bring them about. People praised my name to the extent that it was allowed. But if the focus of adoration ever truly pointed towards me, it was quickly stifled. I didn't see much of Kairos. She was busy taking care of her affairs, but I was never allowed to forget by whose power I was allowed to exist. I was paraded around like the new jewel, and since I had real power, it took a while for the luster to fade. But when I tarnished, I corroded through, and when I stopped being a pleasant distraction, I was passed off to the voices to be forgotten. How long did you work for Kairos? 5 years. 2 years of dedicated training, 2 years with training interspersed with travel, performing miracles in Kairos' name, then a year being his pet. Oh, this is actually a good point, as we just seen it. As you may remember, Sirin's referred to Kairos as she multiple times, but here she's referred to Kairos as a he. Now, let's go with, wait a minute, you've called Kairos both him and her. Did I? How clumsy of me. Must have been a slip of the tongue. She smiles mischievously. Is Kairos a man or a woman? You really don't know, do you? That's fascinating. I assumed a Fatebinder would have been given an audience with him. It didn't seem like she'd let you perform actions in his name without speaking to you. Oh, that line's confusing if you didn't pay attention. That's part of the mystique, isn't it? If your enemies know anything about you, how can they properly plan? Wait, no. If your enemies don't know anything about you, how can they properly plan? Oh, that makes more sense. So, why would Carlos let anything out that he didn't want the world to know? Oh, come on, Sirin, tell me. No, a lady has to keep secrets, and this is going to be mine. It feels good to have some power in this relationship. It's not going to matter once you defeat him. Anyway, she'll be gone. Again. Oh, that's going to be annoying if she keeps doing that. Let's see, what does she think of Kairos, though? Honestly, I don't really think of him at all. I didn't really think of him at all at first. If I wasn't getting daily reminders that he owned me and could have me killed at any time he wanted, I would have completely forgotten he existed. Don't misunderstand me. I despise him. It's because of him I don't have a family. It's because of him my mother is dead. Because of him, I am here instead of, well, anywhere else. But as a child, I was kept too busy to interact with him much. Yeah, it kind of sounds like that. Okay, tell me about the Scarlet Chorus. If I never talk about the chorus, if I never talk to another chorus member, my entire life, I will consider it a success, no matter what else happens. She folds her arms across her chest and levels a steady gaze at you. Verse. This is why I do these talks back at the Spire where everyone's here. Then I'm thrilled to turn your attempted success into a constant failure. I'll try to talk to you more often. Oh, Verse. Anything that helps numb me to the droning sound of your voice. Now, do you mind? I'm speaking with the Fatebinder. What do you want to know? You weren't a member of the chorus? What? Absolutely not. The only reason I worked with them is because I was forced to. Once Kairos had this monstrosity placed in my head, I really had no choice. I'm not powerful enough to force them to let me go, and had the numbers to overwhelm me if I tried anything. Oh, and they had the numbers to overwhelm me if I tried anything. So I did what I was told. Until you shut up. What was it like working with them? Well, at first I was treated like a queen. I spent all my time recruiting, and let's be honest, this Scarlet Chorus isn't choosy, so it was easy to convince people to join. Toward the end, I actually started fearing for my life. With this thing on my head, I couldn't effectively control an entire army. So, hobbling me was quite an intelligent thing for Kairos to do. If anyone had realized I couldn't hold all of them back, I would have been in big trouble. Your little stunt at Veterans Well couldn't have come at a better time. Oh, so she was bluffing to everyone. Everyone was afraid that she'd be able to control them all, but, well, with the exception of the voices, they had no idea. What do you think about the chorus? I'd have thought my look of disgust kind of answered the question, Fatebinder. They're a worthless, hopeless, disorganized bunch of savages who soon will tear themselves apart from the inside. Oh, we gained loyalty based off a choice we made. The only time I ever had fun was when I got to cause chaos, like encouraging them to fight each other to prove their superiority. Oh, that was based off one of our choices during the conquest. Again, it's a way to raise our loyalty with her. One of the few. Thank you, by the way, for allowing me to continue as long as I did. No problem, Sirin. None at all. What's your opinion of their methods, though? They randomly grab anyone and anything they can get their hands on and hope they'll work if they beat them enough. It sounds like the makings of a fantastic army to me. Oh, yeah. It's a fantastic mob. I am repulsed by them and everything they do. Narat is a disgusting excuse for a leader, and I look forward to the day I can watch the life drain from its insane eyes. Am I being clear enough for you, Fatebinder? Oh, Crystal. I know... Okay, she's already said this. What do you know about the Disfavored? I really don't know much about them, Fatebinder. I never got a chance to work with them, so I don't think I'll be much help with this topic. What do you want to know? What do you think about Graven Ash? He seems capable enough. He's organized and truly seems to care about his men, contrary to practically everyone else I've met. Have you seen the Disfavored in action? Briefly, in a few battles during Kairos' conquest, but Narat liked to keep me locked up tight, so I never got a good look at the fighting. You've never worked with them? Not directly. I've been used to inspire people occasionally, and the Disfavored were in those groups. But if you're looking for anything of merit from me on the Disfavored, I'm not going to be of much use to you. Okay, so she really doesn't know much about the Disfavored, does she? What do you know about the other groups in the tiers? Who do you want an opinion on? What about this Stonestalker tribe, which are a tribe of beastmen? Not even worthy of my attention. A beast is beast, and you can't ever make an animal be anything more than what it is.
Humans are flesh. Humans are also animals, yep. Same as beast women, only smaller, weaker, die easily. So, beast women guards, packs, mates from predators with rending claws and killing teeth, keep pack mates safe.
She hunches low to the ground and tucks her head.
Yet, always pack mates are snipping and snarling at beast women.
Okay, so maybe that was a little harsh. Let's just say that in my brief life I hadn't much experience with the beastmen, so I haven't had the chance to form much of an opinion on them. Better?
Kills in shadow forgives little songbird. Still likes chittering Archon.
She laves her tongue over her fangs. I don't know what that word is. Watching Sirin with the intensity of a cat eyeing a bird. Oh, these two might not get along too well. What about the local rebel group, Sirin? Oh, which do you want to talk about? Oh, she's a chatty songbird, isn't she? What about the Vedran Guard? Are they even still pertinent? After the events of Vedran's Well, I would have thought no one would want to talk about them anymore. Yeah, we kind of thrashed them, didn't we? What about the Unbroken, which I believe are the remnants of Stalwart? I hadn't much experience with them. Ash was intent on dealing with the problem, so they didn't ask for my help. Bronze Brotherhood. I think these are the guys that we dealt with on our way to Lethian's Crossing. They're not the most helpful people, but they seem like they want what's best for Lethian's Crossing. Yeah, I was right. Plus, it's a lot easier for me to recruit my own followers with them around. I didn't have to worry about anyone being taken by the Scarlet Chorus or killed by the Disfavored. Okay. What about the mage guilds? Generally, I don't like throwing in with other mages. I've not had a good experience with them in the past, so I keep my distance. And they're so demanding. You ask them, very nicely I might add, how to cast a spell, and they insist they're not a charity, and they're not going to hand over their secrets out of the goodness of their heart. Right. Like there's anything good about that one. And I didn't even use my magic on them. That's gratitude for you. She trails off and gives you an intent look. Suddenly, your head feels like it's too small for your brain. She closes her eyes and takes a deep breath, and the feeling dissipates. So who do you want to talk about? What about the sages? I can't say I'm too happy with them since it was their magic that bound my voice when I was a child. But they are an influential group with infinite knowledge, at least they were. Can you imagine how powerful you would become if you had access to their collections? Oh, that's true. We are being sent to the Burning Library after all. What about the Earthshakers, who actually serve Graven Ash, if you remember correctly? Incredibly powerful, but strangely focused on in their studies. Why would you want to pour your energy into one thing? Branch out! The magic they're missing out on is incredible. What about the Forgebound? The group that Kairos used to make my hobble? Her headdress thing. The less I think about them, the better. They might be good craftsmen, but unless they craft me away out of this prison, I'll let you deal with them, thank you. Yeah, I can kind of get behind her on that one.
What do you need?
Oh, and now we could go on about asking about our companions. This one could be good.
Are we trading in gossip now, Fatebinder? Or are you collecting information to use against us?
She arches her eyebrows inquisitively. Oh, the royal us, I'm guessing.
What do you want to know about?
Now we can actually ask about all of them. I'm going to go start top to bottom. What about Barrick?
The walking ring pile? Let's hope you never have to go anywhere unnoticed. There's nothing particularly wrong with him, I suppose, but he doesn't seem overly bright.
Oh, she's nice.
I mean, what kind of idiot do you have to be if you can't even take off your armor? Maybe he's pretty, but wrapped in that getup, who can tell?
She looks at Barrick, smiles, waves, and then blows him a kiss.
What was that you said? I couldn't quite hear you.
Barrick grunts, turning to face Sirin. She used her powers on Barrick.
It's okay, Barrick. I didn't say anything about anyone important.
She speaks slowly and deliberately, patting him gently on the shoulder. Then she puts her hand to her mouth, suppressing a small giggle.
I'll admit he can handle himself in a fight, but he could use a little more up here.
She taps the side of her head. Oh, I do like her. Now let's see what her opinion on Ebb is.
She's got some power in there, that's for sure. And as long as I'm crippled, I will, begrudgingly mind you, admit she could probably win if we were pitted against each other. Although I'm more than happy to give her a try. Are you game, Ebb? Think you could take me out?
I'm sorry, sweetie. I'm confused. Are you offering me a duel or something a little more down and dirty?
Ebb winks at Sirin, who turns a deep scarlet and looks away.
You know what I meant.
Sirin puts a hand on her headdress and looks at Ebb, chewing on the corners of her mouth.
Oh, don't worry, dear. You're far too young for me. I like someone with a little wear and tear on them, and not just up here.
She puts her hands on her head and winks again.
Though I suppose I should watch myself around her. You never know how people will react to a challenge.
Oh, that was even better than her opinion of Barrick. Okay, what about Gills and Shadow?
I'm not entirely sure what to say. I don't think much of her because I try not to think of her much. Have you seen the way she stares at me? Is that a smile? Or is she hoping I let down my guard so she can tear out my throat? Beastmen are too hard to read. Their thoughts are all blood and rending and rutting.
I'm not always thinking of killing with rending claws. Sometimes I'm thinking how human packmates are like brood cubs, like hairless first-season whelps. Need cleaning and protecting. Need beast woman.
And then it goes from death and blood to love and care, or whatever constitutes love and care to a beast woman, which could very well involve blood and rending and rutting. It's all very confusing. I don't hate her, but she has the uncanny ability to make me uncomfortable without knowing exactly why I feel that way.
Oh, I kind of get the feeling she's not going to like the next two that much, but let's start off with Lentry.
I'm jealous of him. I've heard so much about the Vellum Citadel, and he actually got to see it before all the unpleasantness.
She trails off, a sour expression on her face, her wigging fingers miming tiny explosions. I'm kind of surprised about this so far.
The sheer amount of power lost that day is only dwarfed by the amount of power required to cause the destruction, and the power to stop it. The sages have my respect. And, by extension, plenty.
Now, I'm kind of surprised about that, considering it was the sages that kind of kept her silent as a child and, well, beaten.
Although, I'm not overly happy it was sage magic they used to bind my tongue when I was a child. I can hardly hold him responsible for that.
Well, that kind of makes up for what I just said, doesn't it?
How kind of you, my lady. It's heartening to hear that someone of your immense station considers a lowly sage like me to be worthy of your attention.
Landry performs a deep bow to Sirin, as you can see over here.
Although not all sages are necessarily worthy of praise. Some are a little overly fond of excesses, of one kind or another.
She arches an eyebrow. Oh, I really do like Sirin. What's her opinion on verse?
That bitch? I'd walk her off the spire if I knew I could get away with it. I don't know why you even waste your time with her.
Oh, she does not like verse, does she?
Oh, don't give me that look, Verse. I'm not gonna pretend to like someone I don't. At least you know where I stand. Subterfuge is so low class.
Trust me, you manipulative worm. The feeling is mutual. And I find it ironic that you find subterfuge low class, considering how you get inside people's minds and fuck them over. If I could get away with it, I'd put a blade inside that pretty little head of yours and twist until your mind was as scrambled as those you invade.
How vivid.
Sirin turns to you and makes a little see what I mean gesture at verse.
She's rude, violent, base, impatient, and entirely pointless. You should keep much better company, Fatebinder. You asked me what I thought. I can't help it if the facts are painful to swallow.
She sighs and shrugs.
What do you need?
Oh, what do you think about the state of the world? What is there to say? Kairos' two major leaders can't stop themselves or their armies from fighting like a bunch of children. Neither of them seem capable of dealing with the rebels that are taking them down, which, as far as I'm concerned, is how it should be. The less of the tiers infected by Kairos, the better. If we could eliminate the armies entirely, I would consider it a true victory. Kind of get the feeling that she probably would have liked if we would have joined with the rebels, as I mentioned a couple videos ago. But I didn't, so, well, we're not there. What do you know about the edicts? Anything I would say would be a guess. A wild guess, I should say. That's why I'm with you. You seem to have a connection to the power of this land far beyond anything an Archon is capable of. It intrigues me. I want to learn what it is to harness it. Sadly, I don't have the magic needed to enact or break an edict. At least in my current state. Maybe if you get this helmet off my head, she gives you a knowing stare. Okay, we can go. Even if I knew how to take it off, Sirin, I wouldn't. Stop asking me, or I'd remove it if I could. You can shrug, or you're an Archon. You must know something about the edict, Sirin. I'm actually going to go with the second option and say I'd remove it if I could, because I'd love to see what she's capable of without this helmet. Just because escape is futile doesn't mean the prisoner is going to give up trying. It doesn't hurt to ask. She holds up her hands. Now we can still ask that she must know something. After all, she is the Archon of Song. You'd think that, wouldn't you? With all my training and education, Kairos left a very big void in it all. Almost like it was intentional. It probably was. Well, that's actually it for Sirin. Oh, but we did gain a new ability thanks to our discussions with Sirin. Alright, at this point, the video's been going for actually about an hour. So it would probably be a good idea to talk with Keels and Shadow in the next video.
Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed, and if you did, please like, share, and subscribe. I hope you guys have a great day.